Guess who's back? Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Hey, welcome into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today. I'm Maurice Patton, feeling like I never left. This is Wade Neely, welcoming you into the week. Big week. NFL Draft 24 week, right?
A lot going on this week. Draft will kick off Thursday, and yeah, we are smack dab. You are right back in the saddle, my friend, as one of the busiest, at least in the mid-states, one of the busiest sports weeks of the year, my friend. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Good to be here. It's better than a lot of places. So yeah, it's good to be here. Enjoyed last week. I'm sure y'all enjoyed last week without me. So I'm here for the next couple of hours. So big show. Excited to talk to friend of the show, NUBYJAS WILBORN, about the draft and to see if we have any more clarity on what the Titans are going to do with that 7th overall pick on Thursday night. Do they exercise it? Do they trade it? If they exercise it, who do they take with it? As I was leaving town, there was a name that it felt like it was picking up a little momentum that I didn't think would be on the board there, but as things seem to be falling, maybe it will. We'll talk a little bit more to NUBYJAS about that, though, in the second hour. In the next segment, we've got KIMMEL of Penalty Box Radio talking about 12 Seconds from Hell last night. And did you watch?
I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep before the third period. So when I woke,
you were in good shape.
When I went to bed, I was like, "Oh, this is pure bliss," and I woke up, as you said, to pure hell.
Yeah. So we will talk to Ann and try to dissect that and see what happens next in Game 2 tomorrow night up in Vancouver. But also going to talk a little Braves, a little college basketball coaching changes. That came as a bit of a surprise over the weekend, I guess, and just whatever else we glom onto between now and 4 o'clock. So again, big show. Looking forward to this next couple of hours with the king of Pulaski over here, Wade Neely. So let's go ahead and get things started with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Monday Rundown brought to you as always by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County. Give them a call at 931-388-5831, or you can visit them online at zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Friday baseball results at the high school level. Antioch with a 9-8 victory over Martin Luther King. Barron County, Kentucky defeated Westmoreland 12-2. It was Bradley Central 9, Wilson Central 2. Station Camp with a 17-6 win over Brentwood Academy. Clarksville Academy edged Friendship Christian 4-3. Cleveland in a classic 1-0 over Green Hill. Coffee County 10, Murfreesboro Central 2. Christ Presbyterian 10, Eagleville 4. Good Pasture with a shutout 5-0 victory over Donaldson Christian. Hendersonville edged Dixon County 3-2. Fayetteville with a 9-7 win over Culleoka. It was Forest 6, Watertown 1. Gallatin sweeps Gatlinburg Pittman 7-2 and 16-0. East Hickman with a 10-3 win over Hampshire. Hillsborough defeated Hunters Lane 22-0. Independence with an 8-7 win over Siegel. It was Laverne 6, McGavock 4. Houston with a 13-0 win over Mount Juliet. Davidson Academy defeated Mount Juliet Christian 10-0. Loretto 17, Mount Pleasant 8. Memphis University School with a 5-4 win over Ainsworth. Ezel Harding edged Nashville Christian 3-2. Farragut coming down from Knoxville and downs Nolensville 5-1. Ravenwood with a 10-6 win over Blackman. It was Richland 10, Zion Christian 0. Riverdale 3, Summit 2. Lawrence County with a 10-0 win over Rocket City of Alabama. Rockvale defeated Page in a shootout 12-10. Rossview defeated Beach 14-2. Oakland 12, Smyrna 1. Brentwood with a 7-3 win over Stewart's Creek. And Webster County of Kentucky 25. Kenwood, nothing.
Ooh, a lot of runs in that one. To Saturday we go. Baseball scores continued here. Farragut 2, Beach nothing. It was Lipscomb Academy defeating Centennial 12-0. Clarksville a 14-9 winner over Houston. Cookeville 16-6 defeating Kirkwood on Saturday. It was CPA 6, Upperman 4, Eagleville 6-4 winners over Community. It was Ezell Harding defeating the Tennessee Heat 1-0. Franklin Road Academy wins a one-run ball game 5-4 versus University School of Nashville. Los Gatos, California 9, Friendship Christian 2. It was
I wonder
Gordonsville.
if that's a home and home series.
Yeah. Good question. You know, you'd like to schedule a trip. They were sprinkled throughout the schedule last week, so hopefully they enjoyed their trip over to Tennessee. They did get a couple wins. Again, they defeated Friendship Christian 9-2 on Saturday. 6-3, it was Gordonsville winning over Friendship Christian. Lawrence County all over Giles County and Pulaski. 15-0 was your Saturday score there. Huntington 10, Pope John Paul II 0. Middle Tennessee Christian defeats Grace Christian Franklin 1-0. It was Murfreesboro Central 13, Community nothing. USJ putting up 17 runs, just 5 for Pope John Paul II in that showdown. Columbia Academy 11-0 over Providence Christian. Silverdale Academy wins at 14-2 versus Green Hill. Wilson Central taking 2 games, one from Soddy Daisy, 5-2 was your score there. 11-2 over Walker Valley in their second contest of the afternoon. Hendersonville defeating Waverly 5-2. BGA downs Webb School 7-3. And a couple of close ball games. White House Heritage 5 over White House 4. One-run contest there. Zion Christian big win to cap Saturday's scoreboard in baseball action. They defeated Franklin Christian by the count of 9-4.
Softball action on Friday. Page picked up a 7-2 victory over Blackman. Columbia Central blanked Lexington of Alabama 6-0, and then got blanked by Danville of Alabama 3-0. Zion Christian with a 3-2 win over Community. Community then defeated Battleground Academy 8-1. A lot of get back going on Friday. Eagleville with a 19-4 win over Huntland. It was Forest 5, Stewart's Creek 4. Nolansville 19, Franklin 5. Franklin Road Academy edged Middle Tennessee Christian 8-7. Loretto with a 6-5 win over Florence of Alabama. Loretto then fell to South Gibson 8-3. Faith Academy of Alabama defeated Oakland 5-4. Coffee County with a 3-2 win over Stewart's Creek. Thompson of Alabama 7, Oakland 1. Donaldson Christian 1, Walker Valley nothing. Walker Valley 2, Beach 1. Wayne County 4, Hatton of Alabama 3. Smyrna 10-0 over Wilson Central, and Zion Christian with a 2-0 win over Battleground Academy. On Saturday, it was Page defeating BGA 6-1. The Lady Wildcats come back for a 9-2 victory over Mount Pleasant. Columbia Central 5, East Lawrence of Alabama 4. Community 10, Mount Pleasant 5. Community 5, Page 2. Community 12, Mount Pleasant nothing. And Community 3, Page nothing. Columbia Academy with a 16-4 win over Grace Christian of Franklin. Loretto defeated Florence Central of Alabama 3-0 and defeated Winfield of Alabama 2-1 before falling to Lawrence County 3-2. Murfreesboro Central with a 3-2 win over Allen County, Kentucky. Austin of Alabama defeated Oakland 4-1. Oakland defeated Lawrence County of Alabama 7-1. Page with a pair of victories, defeating BGA 8-2 and Mount Pleasant 10-5. And finally, Rockvale with an 8-3 win over Riverdale.
Boys soccer scores from the weekend. These are all from Friday. Siegel and Blackman playing to a 1-1 draw. Columbia defeated Spring Hill in that rivalry showdown 1-0. 0-0, your score. Goalless draw between MBA and CPA on Friday. It was another draw as Christian Brothers and Hendersonville battled to a 2-2 stalemate. Laverne 7, Valor Collegiate 3, Richland 3, Loretto 1. Murfreesboro Central defeated Marshall County in a higher scoring contest, I think, that a lot of folks would have expected. 5-3 was your score there. Gallatin defeated Portland 4-1. Stewart's Creek knocking off Wilson Central 3-1. And Tullahoma gets a nice home victory versus Giles County 4-2 was your contest there. Major League Baseball scores on Friday. The Astros defeated the Nationals 5-3. The Braves knocked off the Rangers 8-3. Saturday scoreboard, it was the Nationals defeating the Astros 5-4. Braves winning over the Rangers 5-2. And then last night it was Washington 6, Houston nothing, and the Rangers knocking off the Braves 6-4. Minor league baseball scores. The Sounds take Friday's game over Omaha 3-2. Omaha bounces back Saturday with an 8-2 win, but the Sounds capping the homestand in style with a 7-3 win to close out the series Sunday. Once again, 7-3, your final Sunday night. As Mo and I mentioned earlier, and we'll get into a little bit later in this program, the Canucks picked up a big win last night in the opening round of the Western Conference Stanley Cup playoffs. It was 4-2 in favor of Vancouver. Saturday night scoreboard down in Miami. Inter Messi defeated Nashville. Messi did score twice in that game. 3-1 was your final score in MLS action.
So it was Messi 2, Nashville 1.
Pretty much, yeah. And Nashville led early, and then Messi did Messi things, as you might say.
Baseball scheduled today at 4 o'clock. Hunters Lane travels to Cane Ridge. Ooh, good luck. Getting from the north end of Nashville to Antioch?
No, sir.
That's bad scheduling. Overton is at Antioch at 4:30. That one will be a little easier. Also, Ezel Harding is at Goodpasture at 4:30. Martin Luther King goes to Lawson for a doubleheader beginning at 4:30 with the first game. Hume Fogg is at Maplewood. Franklin Road Academy is at University School of Nashville at 5 o'clock. Lipscomb Academy is at Bob Jones of Alabama. Trousdale County goes to Christian Community. Donaldson Christian is at Clarksville Academy. Mount Juliet Christian goes to Nashville Christian. Clarksville and Beach will play at 5:30. Not sure where. York Institute is at Watertown. Also, Clay County goes to Westmoreland at 6. Cornersville is hosting Santa Fe. Hampshire goes to Culleoka. Davidson Academy hosts Friendship Christian. Webb of Bell Buckle travels to Battleground Academy. Giles County is at Murfreesboro Central. Clarksville Northwest is at West Creek. Again, those are all 6 o'clock starts. At 6:30, Independence is at Centennial. Columbia Central goes to Manchester, taking on the Red Raiders of Coffee County. Providence Christian is at Columbia Academy at 6:30 tonight. Kenwood is at Dixon County. Middle Tennessee Christian goes to Grace Christian of Franklin. Mount Pleasant is at Hickman County. Lawrence County hosting Franklin County. Hillsborough travels to McGavock. Eagleville is at Moore County. Page hosting Brentwood. Nolensville is at Ravenwood. Kirkwood goes to Rossview. Clarksville Northeast is at Springfield. Spring Hill hosts Shelbyville. Those are all 6:30 games. At 7, Creekwood is at East Robertson. White House goes to Macon County. Mount Juliet hosts Liberty Creek. Station Camp is at Portland. And time unknown on Summit at Franklin.
Check your local listings on that showdown there. Softball schedule for today, beginning at 4 o'clock. Clarksville Christian traveling to Christian Community. Macon County will visit Station Camp. 4:30 showdowns between DCA at Davidson Academy. A doubleheader at 4:30 will take place. Mount Juliet Christian at Goodpasture. Other 4:30 contests include Clarksville Academy at Nashville Christian. Hume Fogg is at St. Cecilia Academy. 5 o'clock games now. Lewis County is at Columbia this evening. Ezel Harding traveling to Friendship Christian. Springfield is at Joe Burns. Whites Creek at Lawson tonight beginning at 5. Loretto traveling to Hohenwald to take on Lewis County this evening. Wayne County will be at Mount Pleasant. Brentwood traveling up to Nolensville. It was Wilson Central over at Ravenwood tonight. McEwen at Santa Fe. Spring Hill will be at Shelbyville tonight. Santa Fe will be at Richland. So scratch that McEwen game from just a moment ago. Rewind the tape, folks, and just forget what I said. Santa Fe will be at Richland tonight at 5 o'clock. That game can be heard on Pulaski Citizen Live. Check PCL socials to find a broadcast link there. Ravenwood will be at Summit at 5 this evening. Gallatin is at Westmoreland. Greenbrier is at White House. 5:30 contest tonight. Summertown is at Forest. Lewis County is at Murfreesboro Central Magnet. East Robertson at Bowling Green. 6 o'clock now. It's Eagleville at Coffee County. Independence at Marshall County. Webb School at Columbia Academy. 6:30 start times between Stewart's Creek, who's at Cookville. Fayetteville will take on Richland as the Lady Raiders hosting a doubleheader. That game will also be broadcast with Mark Mize on PCL tonight.
Split doubleheader.
Split doubleheader, non-district, kind of a head scratcher, but
Getting them in.
They're going to get them in. They played Fayetteville last week, so I guess they're getting that second one in the evening time tonight. Other 6:30 games tonight include Beach at Lebanon and Columbia at Warren County. No start times listed, but we do show White House Heritage at Clarksville Northeast, McEwen at Houston County, East Nashville at McGavock, Houston County at Montgomery Central, and Watertown at Portland tonight.
On the pitch, 5 o'clock first touch for Middle Tennessee Christian boys soccer at Columbia Academy. Also at 5, Nashville Christian is at Davidson Academy. At 6, Mount Juliet Christian travels to East Robertson. Clarksville Academy is at Greenbrier, and Hillsborough hosts Brentwood Academy. 7 o'clock start for Portland at White House. And at 6:20, you can see it on Valley Sports South, the Marlins come into Truist Park to take on the Braves, and we will talk more about that later in the show because there will be a familiar face on the bump for the visitors in that one. That is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10 at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Statement from Fisk University. Coach Anderson has stepped down from his position after 5 seasons with the program. We appreciate his contributions to the Fisk University men's basketball team and wish him well in his future pursuits. Fisk University will conduct a nationwide search for a new head coach. We are committed to finding a leader who will build upon the program's foundation and achieve continued success on and off the court. Coach Anderson, being former Georgia Tech standout and former NBA point guard Kenny Anderson, proud of New York City. Yeah. Friend of the show as of a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had him on the night of the the afternoon ahead of the NCAA National Championship game. And he predicted that UConn would win by, 15?
Mm-hmm.
And they won by 15, I think it was. 15, 12?
Yeah, the big.
Pretty decisively.
Pretty decisively, and you're right. He was just on our program just a couple of weeks ago.
We were just getting to know Coach Anderson. Looking forward to a long relationship. Clearly.
So the next,
I hope that didn't have anything to do with us.
I hope not. First and foremost, all this means hopefully is just the next time he appears, he'll just have a different role or different title.
There we go.
Anderson does depart. Fisk, 43-95 overall record, 25-34 in GSAC play. And as you mentioned, 15 seasons in the NBA, including a all-star appearance in 94. From a profile standpoint, you can't really get much better than what Fisk had there. And this is a program that, an NAIA level program that can compete and can do some good things when they have a couple of key players or the right coaching staff in place. They've been known to get hot and make a little run in the postseason. So, unfortunate news to see Kenny depart, as we just kind of, like you said, we're just chatting with him a couple of weeks ago. He was presumably maybe a tough decision. I would assume so. He did say in a statement, "I will enjoy my life, but I will miss everyone at Fisk University. Been here for 5 years and truly love it. My daughter graduated from here. I don't know what else to say."
Yeah, kind of hate to see it. Certainly that search and his successor will bear watching because, as you said, you don't run across too many folks with the profile of a Kenny Anderson. And so how Fisk addresses that from that perspective in particular will be worth keeping an eye on. So we will do that.
Worth noting real quick, that was his only head coaching stint of any major significance.
Right.
So curious to see, does he continue coaching, or was that kind of a one-off, or what happens with Kenny? Yeah,
it will. I mean, it was really kind of interesting at the onset, So who knows? When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio. She's going to tell us what happened last night because I'm still not sure. So stay tuned after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and we are now joined by Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio. Ann, hello.
How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
You know, at about 11 o'clock last night, I was okay, and then not soon. A little bit thereafter, I was, not so much. What happened in the third period last night of that 4-2 loss at Vancouver in Game 1?
You know what's funny is I'm still trying to sort through what is an explanation and what is an excuse for that third period, and I'm not 100% sure what factors land in which compartment there. Nashville went into the third period with a 2-1 lead, which in this game, a 1-goal lead is a big deal. This is going to be a tight series. And there just was a breakdown over the course of a dozen seconds that really turned this game on its ear. You know, the Vancouver Canucks scored a goal. 12 seconds later, a turnover by the Nashville Predators resulted in another goal, quick lead shift. And it was like Nashville just couldn't combat the momentum that shift created in that third period. But it was odd because I'm with you. I felt pretty good through part of this game. And even after that lead, I thought, okay, Nashville's going to need a minute. They're going to get their skates under them, and then they're going to push back. But that just didn't happen in that third period.
And as I'm watching the game, I'm like you. I'm a bit more optimistic than most, but I went to bed in the second intermission, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about the way Nashville's playing. And then I checked my score this morning, and I did like a triple take because, as you just mentioned, the game really turned on its ear in that third period. And I guess that is a fair question now. What kind of is an explanation and what's kind of an excuse? What is the immediate chatter, or what came out of that right in the post game from the coaching staff for Nashville to break that one down?
It was interesting. Andrew Brunette, and we also heard from Roman Yossi, we heard from Jason Zucker, and we heard from Ryan O'Reilly. All of them really kind of talked about there was just sort of an inability to bounce back in the third period. And that's not something that's been characteristic of the Predators since they started kind of turning things around back on that 18-game point streak. They've been a very strong third period team, but they've also been really resilient mentally as much as anything else. You know, something Andrew Burnett's preached all season long that finally sunk in midway through the period, midway through the season, was it's about that next shift. You score a goal or a goal is scored on you. What do you do that next shift? How do you keep your composure? How quickly do you get back to your game? And you saw Nashville really struggle with that, giving up 2 goals in 12 seconds. But that lingered past those 2 goals. And I think Vancouver really had the momentum. And this was a game, like I said, that was really going to be a 1-goal game. So I think Vancouver really felt like we've got that 1-goal lead, and they were going to press and hang on to it. That may be something Nashville didn't do enough of when they had the 1-goal lead. I don't know that they really pressed to hang on to the 1-goal lead like Vancouver did. Now, again, there could be some factors / excuses that go into this. I think Nashville, they hadn't played a game at game tempo, game speed, with the pressure of the game for 6 days as compared to Vancouver, who just played last Thursday. So there may have been some fatigue in that third period. Obviously, it was a great environment. I think it was a big moment for some of these players. Maybe that got a little bit tiring. But this was a game that Nashville could have won. And for as disappointing and frustrating as that score was to check this morning, there's also something to be maybe a little bit encouraged about, because the corrections Nashville needs to make aren't earth-shattering. They don't need to rework their whole system. They just need a couple of things to improve, and they could be in this game and win a game like this come game 2.
And did the pace of the game, the first 2 periods, the first period especially, seemed like it was really played at an insane pace, which on paper I would have thought benefited Nashville, and they had an early chance. Demko made already maybe one of the great saves of the entire playoffs in the very first period last night. Did the pace of the game kind of surprise you? And if so, I guess maybe that speaks to potential fatigue or a little downturn there in the third.
We knew it was going to be a physical game. These are 2 teams that ranked top of the league when it comes to hits during the regular season. But for me, the quantity of hits in the first period was surprising. There were 36 hits between these 2 teams in the first 20 minutes. There was only 10 shots on goal. So they were doing a lot more hitting than they were shooting. I wonder how much that maybe wore things down for the Nashville Predators. But the pace of the game, I thought it was interesting. Vancouver came out and they really did control things to begin with, which is not surprising. Again, they've been on the ice more recently, their home environment. I think we can say that while these teams compare in a lot of ways, Vancouver probably has the edge when it comes to depth talent. So it's not super surprising that Vancouver came out. I thought Nashville did a good job weathering the initial storm. But when that happened again in the third period, it was like Nashville didn't have that second kind of pushback that they needed. And I think that really kind of doomed them in that third period. You saw players like Roman Josi really try to create something in that third period, to tie that game back up. But it didn't seem like the rest of the team could quite dig deep enough to push to get that tie game.
And KIMMEL with Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And you mentioned the end of the regular season schedule. Nashville played their last regular season game on Tuesday, Vancouver a couple of days later. And it was odd to me because I was away from a lot of communications last week, but I was trying to figure out when the playoffs started, and I kept seeing regular season games going on Wednesday and Thursday, and it's like, what is going on? How you don't want to use that as an excuse, like you said, but it's tough to replicate live playoff hockey, for the period of time that Nashville was off between the end of the regular season on Tuesday night and game one last night. I mean, and again, I get excuses and reasons, but this may be more of a reason than an excuse here.
I agree with you. I think that's a valid factor. And it was something that Andrew Brunette had mentioned between the regular season ending and traveling to Vancouver. He said, this is the thing that keeps a coach up at night. How do you manage this much time off with the team? People will say, hey, the benefit is you have players getting rest. Well, that's great and all. But like you said, you don't replicate game speed. You don't replicate game intensity in a practice. I will say this, the practices that Andrew Brunette held here in Nashville that I attended before they flew to Vancouver, they were kicked up a notch. He really was playing a lot of, doing a lot of intense drills with the team. They did a ton of skating at the end of practice. So the practices were more intense. But again, practices are not games. Practices are not game pace. They're not game intensity. And I do think that Nashville really had to work some rust and dust off with that huge long break. Now, quick turnaround. We've got a game Tuesday night. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Nashville bounces back. It's something that they've done well. And I think hearing from Andrew Brunette, Roman Josi, Ryan O'Reilly last night after the game, they feel like we know what we need to do to turn the page quickly. We're going to focus on cleaning up some things and be ready to go Tuesday. I'm more optimistic about a quick turnaround of the Preds getting back on the ice than I think I was with them having almost a week away.
And coming out of this game, who do you feel good about from an individual standpoint from Nashville, and who maybe already gave you a little cause for concern after just one game?
Yeah, fair question. I think two players that I want to kind of holler out, and while they may not have been big on the stat sheet, I think their performance in the game last night is worth noting. Two young players, Luke Evangelista and Spencer Stastny. Luke Evangelista was out there generating a lot of offensive chances. He's a player who could be an X factor for the Nashville Predators. They've really got to come up with some players who are going to combat what Vancouver's depth can do. And Luke Evangelista is a young player who can do that. So I felt like the moment didn't look too big for Luke Evangelista. I think we saw a very similar game from him that we saw at the end of the regular season. Spencer Stastny, young defenseman playing in his first NHL playoff game against very good players on the Vancouver Canucks. And I thought he showed his speed, his hockey IQ. He is ready for those big moments. I thought he had a couple of really important plays. When it comes to players I'm worried about, I can't believe I'm saying this, but hey, Philip Forsberg, Like, this is the guy. You know, if you want to win big games, you need your best players to be your best players. Philip Forsberg just didn't have the puck on his stick enough last night, didn't generate very many offensive chances. He only had 3 shots on goal. That top line was outshot 4-1 when they were on the ice. They were in the D zone too much. You want to see Philip Forsberg get the puck on his stick and get some offensive pressure going. Also want to see UC Saros maybe take it up a notch. I thought he played fine, but when it comes to the playoffs, your goaltender has to be great. And you want to see UC Saros come back in Tuesday night and really make some of those great saves. Now, it will help if the defense doesn't hang him out to dry 12 seconds after a goal. But I do think Forsberg and UC Saros, those are 2 players that you want to see take it up a notch in this game too. And that will really make things more difficult for Vancouver.
And Nyquist limped off the ice late last night. Any word on what that was about or any concern as far as that goes?
You know what? It was one of those moments that makes your stomach sink to see him. He wasn't putting pressure on his one skate. You thought, oh my gosh, if Nyquist goes down, what happens? Great news, equipment failure. We'll take an equipment failure every day of the week and twice on Sundays. His skate blade had come off. They got him off, took him down the tunnel, made a real quick adjustment, and he was able to finish the game. So we don't think there was any sort of injury. We're thinking it was just equipment.
Okay, I did not notice him return to the game. So okay, that is good news. That's great news, actually. And KIMMEL, Penalty Box Radio, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, shedding a little light on the Preds' 4-2 loss in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs and what to look for tomorrow night as they try to get things even before they come back to Bridgestone. What's that, Thursday night, Friday night? When is Game 3?
Friday.
Were you able to get tickets or what?
Sore subject. No.
Oh.
Man, I tell you what, I can get tickets. Just got to pay a little more than I wanted to initially. So
very true.
There's still a decent chance, but yeah, it's just going to cost me a few more shekels on Friday night. Hey, and real quick, I wanted to also ask you, watching the game, I'd only seen highlights and obviously kept up with how fantastic Quinn Hughes has been throughout the course of the season. But can you just put into context just how dominant this guy is? Who he logged a ton of minutes in the first period, especially. Is Vancouver at a massive advantage with having a guy like that being able to kind of hold things down as a two-way defenseman there?
Quinn Hughes is exceptional. Absolutely, no doubt about it. I think if Quinn Hughes wins the Norris Trophy, as disappointed as Predators fans would be that Yossi didn't get it, you can't squawk about it. That's how good Quinn Hughes has been this season, and he is absolutely key for the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, they've got JT Miller, they have Brock Besser, they've got Thatcher Demko in net, but Quinn Hughes is just having an exceptional season. And like you said, it's his two-way game. He's the young version of Roman Josi with a little bit of zhuzh on top this season. So Quinn Hughes has been fantastic. You're going to see a ton of him through this series, and he is going to be somebody the Predators are going to have to find a way to contain and work around.
So it sounds like a question of just dealing with him rather than attacking him and hoping he makes a mistake, it seems like at this point.
I think at this point, it's going to be very hard to see Quinn Hughes make a mistake that's going to be a game-changing mistake. Just that is how complete his game has been this season. But if you can contain him, if you can kind of keep him off the score sheet, and if you can work around him offensively, that's going to be Nashville's best chance. This is somebody you have to win despite him being on the ice. You're not going to win because he's on the ice.
Biggest adjustment before we let you go in that Nashville needs to make, and I guess is it do or die? How desperately does Nashville need to win tomorrow night's game before they head back for 3 and 4 this weekend?
I would say, to answer the first part of your question, I think the biggest adjustments the Predators need to make is they've got to win the puck battles. You've got to get puck possession. Last night, Vancouver really controlled the puck possession in that game. Between these two teams, that may be your deciding factor. That means players like Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Gus Nyquist, you need them to have the puck on their stick, but you need players like that fourth line to be the guys who go and get it. As far as, how panicked should the Predators be about game 2, it definitely amps up when you look at coming home 0-2 versus splitting this first part of this away series. So the pressure, I think, is on Nashville, but I do think they're going to be a little bit more prepared for this game. Do want them to come home 1-1 to Bridgestone Arena. It's awfully tough to dig out of an 0-2 series when you know you've got to turn around and go right back on the road for 2 more games.
And Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here. And we appreciate your time and look forward to speaking to you under better circumstances next time. So
yeah, let's get a win and then we can just talk. Yeah,
let's do that.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be good. And we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Again.
When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, it's MON-STARS. Wade and I will give you our top individual performances of the weekend. Don't anticipate any Predators being in that, but we'll see when we come back.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it is time for MON-STARS. Wade and I will give you our top individual performances of the weekend. I think I've got some good ones. Let's see what you got.
There's going to be a couple good ones, and let's see. I'm going to start things off. This is kind of like Top 5 Tuesday, so there's a little bit of a draft element here, but I think there's enough great performances to celebrate, to go around. But Mo, how about the effort yesterday from none other than Damian Lillard of the Milwaukee Bucks? I love this performance for a couple of reasons. Number one, without Giannis, a lot of folks counting the Bucks out in this series as they put on a little bit of a whooping, as a matter of fact, as it were, versus the Pacers yesterday. But Lillard goes for 35 points. Do you know how many he ended the basket? He went for 35 in the first half. Do you know how many he ended the game with?
At one time, late in the ball game, he's still sitting on 35.
Ended the game with 35. So take that what you will, but Damian Lillard puts on a first half for the ages. It was the second most points scored ever in the first half, at least in the modern era, trailing only Kevin Durant, who had 38 back in 2019. And he said, "This is why y'all brought me here." And they looked more impressive than I thought they certainly would in the postseason. And I'm going to go out on a limb. If Damian Lillard scores 35 points in the first half of the rest of their playoff series versus the Pacers, I like their chances.
I like their chances. I'd like them better if he'd score something in the second half.
Not even a free throw. I mean, that blew me away.
I think I saw at some point that the previous record for most points scored in a first half to go scoreless in the second half was 31.
So he's the new.
All right. Early look like, but you know, one of our mottos here on Main Street Sports today is from preps to pros. Two-time defending Division IIA high jump state champion Griffin Cooper went 6'8" at the Volunteer Classic this weekend up in Knoxville. He won it. I think that is the height that he won the state at last year. We are still 3 weeks to a month away from spring fling, and he's already at 6'8".
So you're saying there's a chance for more?
I'm sure his coach Brady Henson would like to think there's a chance for more. So we're gonna keep an eye on the multi-sport standout for a couple of reasons. You know, he signed with Alabama Huntsville, which John Schulman left there at the end of the season, took the Central Arkansas job. Think Griffin's going to stay? They made a hire here not too long ago, and it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully that will continue, but he's going on a basketball / track and field scholarship.
Wow.
He's going to do both at the Division II level. So looking forward to seeing him.
That is eye-popping stuff. And like you said, still got a chance to get ready to tweak a few things.
He's already at 6'8", and tweaking at 6'8" that's a pretty good place to be. So
that is mind-blowing.
Spring fling could be fun.
Second MON-STAR, hold the booze, watch your fruit. But I got to give a few flowers, and only for these stats that I'm going to give you folks. And it's a tag team. You know, Yao had Cody Rhodes from WWE on a couple weeks ago on his MON-STARS. I'm going to go with the tag team of JT Miller and Quinn Hughes from last night. Listen to this, Mo. Miller and Hughes, in the first period, they accounted for 4 minutes and 54 seconds together, which is a crazy amount of ice time alone. But during that stretch, they outshot the Predators 9-1. Out-attempted the Predators 9-1. They outshot them 6-0. But this was the stat that blew my mind. I don't know necessarily, I'm not a huge hockey whiz, but there's a stat called expected goals. 99% to 1% of expected goals when those guys were on the ice were in favor of the Canucks. So Zan just told us these two are making a dynamic effort It certainly proved useful last night for the Canucks. The article on The Athletic here says that's essentially throwing a perfect game while those two are out there. So if the tandem of Miller and Hughes are out there, it's going to be real hard for the Predators to score, I guess is the simplest way to put it. So I got to give them a little bit of a shout out from last night.
All right. From preps to pros, there's typically some college stuff in between. Kavaris Tears, former Columbia Academy standout, went 5 for 12 in Tennessee's 3-game series up at Lexington against the host Wildcats this past weekend. 5 for 12, scored 5 runs, drove in 4. Pair of home runs, 1 in each of Tennessee's 2 victories, the 9-4 win on Saturday and the 13-11 win yesterday. I think UT hit 5 home runs on Saturday. The 2 teams combined for 10 on Sunday. I mean, and you know, you've been around college baseball. That game 3, the arms get a little dicey.
See who we got. Who's left?
Johnny Holstaff, as they like to say. But yeah, for the year, Kavaris hitting 381, 13 home runs, 34 ribs, and a team-leading 51 runs for the 33-7 balls.
Good night.
Yeah, that's out of the 4 spot.
Putting on a show for a lineup, as we've seen, is putting on a show.
Absolutely.
Final MON-STAR for me. Speaking of local products, bringing on back to Giles County. We couldn't get him in last week because, well, it happened after MON-STARS. But go back to last Tuesday. Giles County kicker/soccer standout Chase Carden. He's had a great kicking career for the Bobcats, but he's a heck of a soccer player too. Page and Giles County get it on. Page scores an equalizer with about 20 seconds left in the first half. And I told Chris Yao on air last week I was so upset with myself because I straight up botched the call. But they tapped the ball back into play, and Carden runs from the kickoff, lobs one in from mid-pitch to put Giles County back on top 2-1. So Carden boots one in, showing off the leg, and just completely had everybody in the park stunned as Chase Carden Sr. for Giles County had a goal for the ages. I'm working on the highlight. We'll tweet that out for Main Street Sports today because Chase Carden had a goal for the ages. I'll go Lazo, as the soccer nerds would call it last week.
That's impressive to see, too.
From the kickoff. Yeah. And I told I said I was glancing at my notes, and he said, well, yeah, everybody in the right mind would have been glancing at their notes. You don't expect.
You're at midfield.
You're at midfield, and they just tapped it right back to him, and he just boots one straight into the net. So Chase Carden, shout out for my final MON-STAR of the week.
What I always find fascinating about that, because Columbia Central hit one like that either last year or the year before. What is the goalie thinking right there? Or what is the goalie doing right there? And you got plenty of time to react to it. Just misread it or what? The
bad parts, and I won't throw too much shade, but Page did have a goalkeeper injury, so was the backup at that point. He was out of position, but you want to talk about a helpless feeling. He is literally running and looking, and then he's like, at some point, he just gave up. At some point, just gave up and said, there ain't no way I'm getting this.
I'm not going to get there.
Tough break for Page. The game ends 2-2 because, of course, well, soccer. But Giles County, Chase Carden with a great goal last Tuesday night.
You know, we talked, and we'll talk some more about the Brave series with Texas over the weekend, but this guy deserves a little talk by himself. Travis d'Arnaud became the 3rd catcher to hit 3 home runs in a game in Major League Baseball history Friday night. His 3rd was a grand slam that finally got Atlanta clear of Texas, put them up 7-3 in an eventual 8-3 win. But wait, there's more.
Oh, okay.
Because on Saturday night, d'Arnaud goes yard again. He was 4 for 6 in 2 games, came off the bench last night. No, I'm sorry, he was 4 for 5 in 2 games, came off the bench last night and flew out. But 4 or 5 at bats in the first 2 games, all 4 home runs. 8 ribs, 5 runs scored.
Now that is quality action.
That's a MON-STAR right there.
Big performance. Can I do a quick honorable mention?
Absolutely.
You just piqued my interest there. That does remind me, and I failed to give this shout out last week, so I do apologize, but I got to just bring it back. remember those numbers you just kind of rattled off. Former Giles County Bobcat Coleman Sinyard, he's a catcher at UT Southern now. He was named the Southern State's Player of the Week. And I didn't get to go to the game, so I'm saying, okay, well, what did he do to get Player of the Week? 2 games, he's the catcher, so he sat 1 game. 2 games, he hit .625 and slugged 1.75 with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. But the kicker, he homered at the end of game 1, and then his next 2 at-bats in game 3 of the series were both dingers, including a game similar to Darno where his grand slam on the 3rd home run blew the game open in favor of UT Southern. I apologize, Coleman, for not getting him in last week. Hopefully we can slip in that honorable mention there. He's featured in this week's Pulaski Citizen.
Better late than never.
Yeah, man. And like you said, weekend series, that last game, you never know who's out there throwing, but Coleman was letting them fly. He had
still got to put a good swing on it.
Got to put it 3 at bat, 3 homers in a row. I mean,
that's solid. At what point do you stop pitching to him? Right.
That's what I'm wondering. But also, I'm wondering if your coach. The good news for him, it was games 1 and 3, because if it had
maybe
been,
he'd had a chance to forget about it.
Yeah, I think so. Because if I'm Coach Mitch Hill for UT Southern, and I know you want to rotate your catchers in here and there, but I'd have a hard time sitting that guy.
There was some question after Saturday night's game. In fact, friend of the show, Brandon Gaudin, the play-by-play announcer for the Braves on Valley Sports, and CJ Nitkowski, they were kind of kicking it around whether or not Travis Darno would be in the lineup tomorrow night, in light of the way he had been swinging it in the first 2 games of the series. He did sit. They did lose. So I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
And that's always an interesting phenomenon, right? Because obviously the catching position is, depending on your managerial style, way more important defensively and for other things than it is your hitting. But when a guy's swinging that out of a bat, it makes you wonder, right?
And I think, had it been a day game yesterday, then I think that decision would have pretty much been a no-brainer to sit him a day game after a night game. But the fact that they were playing Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, I think probably put it in play a little bit more whether or not he would play. Now, again, he didn't. So guess he'll be back in the lineup today against Miami, and we will talk more about that when we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stay tuned for hour number 2.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
We're back, and I'm not sure how we were gone, but we're back. Welcome back to the second hour of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. This is Wade Neely and Mark. It is time for This Day in Braves History. April 22nd, 1966, swept by visiting Pittsburgh in a two-game series to open the season. The Braves get their first ever victory in Atlanta with an 8-4 win over the Mets, jumping out to a 5-0 lead early and getting a 4-inning save from Billy O'Dell to move to 5-4 on the year. 5 different players, including Hank Aaron and Rico Carty, each had a pair of hits as the Braves racked up 13 total. That was this day in Braves history. Could have used a little Hank Aaron and Rico Carty last night to finish off Texas, but unable to do so, dropping a 6-4 decision after winning the first 2 games of that series to extend their win streak to 6 straight. I guess dating back to their trip to Miami, which oddly enough,
Get them right back.
comes to Truist Park tonight. Yeah. Won the last game in Miami on Sunday. Swept the Astros. Sorry about that. And then took 2 of 3 from Texas to set up the 14-6 Braves coming into tonight's action against the 6-17 Marlins. But the Marlins got a secret weapon tonight. Former Loretto multi-sport standout Ryan Weathers taking the bump, 2-1 with a 2.70 ERA for the Marlins, coming off of his big win up at Yankee Stadium, I think in his last start, right?
Had another. I take it back. Yes, that's right. I'm pretty sure because he was supposed to pitch over the weekend in Wrigley Field, and that got pushed back for some reason.
But there we go.
Hence the start tonight.
So, I'm not saying, I'm just saying I'll be interested to know how many people are in Loretto tonight around 6:20. It's not a hard trip from there to Atlanta.
Make a quick little jaunt over.
A little down and back.
I take that back, Mo. Is last Tuesday he did. How can we forget? He struck out 10 in the win versus the Giants last week.
Oh,
so
that's right.
He's on a bit of a heater right now as he comes into Atlanta
he's won
tonight.
back to back. Ooh,
Yep.
yeah, he had that big win against the Giants. Yeah, so yeah, on a little bit of a roll. That, and with a couple of guys in that Braves lineup, Austin Riley and Matt Olson, who are, kind of going through it a little bit right now. So one of those a lefty. Ryan Weathers a lefty. Could get interesting tonight.
Marlins have won 6 games. He's got 2 wins on the season.
You like to see that for him. I mean, because he never really got a chance to get his feet under him in San Diego, I don't think. And so I think that trade mid-year last year was good for him to just, Chris doesn't like the change of scenery phrase necessarily, but sometimes you need different people seeing you. Sometimes you need to see different people, hear different voices, that kind of thing. And maybe the voices that he's hearing these days are a little bit more supportive than the ones that he was hearing.
Yeah, and, I'm already looking a couple steps down the road without knowing his contract info off the top of my head. Miami, as we just mentioned, they're cellar dwellers. Is this potentially a situation? Hey, if I come out and I throw pretty well in the first half of this season, maybe I get shipped out to even greener pastures. And
or maybe you just establish yourself.
Or become the guy in Miami all of a sudden.
Right. And I think, when you've got guys like Jazz Chisholm and some of the other guys that you've got on that team, they're, Arias, you've got some guys that can play down there. Miami was in the playoffs last year. Now they've done some things since then that don't make a whole lot of sense, like fire their GM and scratch the option on the manager of the year, Skip Shoemaker. But hey, y'all do you, Miami. As a Braves fan, never stop an enemy in the middle of making a mistake. But, for Ryan's sake, you'd like to see things go well and him solidify himself as a part of that rotation down there. So we'll see how that goes. Now,
and I don't know the series versus the Cubs. He was originally slated. We even teased it on Friday's show. He was supposed to start yesterday on Sunday to cap it, but there was a doubleheader on Saturday that was somehow mixed in there. So I don't know how that maybe played things, but he was originally supposed to start in Wrigley Field because that was the point we mentioned. Already got 1 win at a historic stadium. Might as well add another. Yeah. No offense to Truist Park just yet, but I mean, it ain't getting there just yet. But
Wrigley Field,
yeah.
Truist Park, yeah.
So it'd be cool to have seen that, but obviously we'll keep our eyes on what happens in this one. And obviously, the cool part as a Braves fan, if you're sitting here watching this with ties to Ryan Weathers, 2 things can be true at once. He can have a good game, and Atlanta can still win, and
that would be the perfect scenario.
Maybe throws 7 innings and looks great, and then the bullpen just mysteriously falls apart.
Well, the one phrase that I have been relying on a lot about this Braves team this year is late offense. And, it almost bailed them out last night even. But, yeah, I would much rather have seen Ryan go at Wrigley Field yesterday than at Truist Park tonight for obvious reasons, because we kind of got some torn rooting interests there, obviously. So we'll see how that goes. Tough weekend in DC for the Astros.
Yeah, I kept up with a few loose scores, and now they're starting to slowly fade even further. I mean, they're 5 games back, and didn't who's that? I just saw Javier, I think, is the Astros have now had 6 pitchers that have already gone to the IL thus far. So that's one area that they needed a little sign of life. And Verlander had a decent outing in his debut on Friday. The game they did get the win 5-3. But other than that, it's grim for Houston right now. So the good news is you got some time to maybe get back. The bad news is if you don't start getting back, it's going to be a long season for Houston, who's now 3 of 7 in their last 10.
I'm looking at CBSSports.com's power rankings, which have the Braves number 1. They have the Astros at number 21, and the narrative is we're getting into the range where it's got to be at least a little bit concerning. The Astros are now 7-16, just lost a series to the Nationals. They are 4-9 at home and 3-7 on the road.
Not pretty. And eventually, and obviously Texas last night getting the win, that stings. But the gap is only 5 games. And they're not going to end up as historically inept as it looks like the White Sox might be. But the fact you're even in the same breath as the White Sox is not a good situation.
It's not where you want to be.
They're 12.5 games back in the Central, whereas Houston just 5 back. And the good news, I think, if you're Houston is presumably, obviously you're sitting here at 7-16. You really can't say this with a super straight face, but presumably you're a little better than the A's. Presumably you're better than the Angels. So now you're not only going to get to claw those wins back, you're going to get to really kind of leverage those games when you play them. And Mariners, the Seattle Mariners, just right above them at 11-11. So panic button not fully pressed, but it's definitely out in the room. I'll say that much.
And you talk about the pitching injuries, but you're going to get some folks back pretty soon. Justin Verlander being one of them.
Had a good game Friday in his debut. So, but yeah, I mean that will certainly go a long way. But man, they've already lost a couple stinkers that they need to get the thing rolling as they're playing the Cubs beginning 3 games tomorrow. Do get the Rockies, which is not a guarantee by any stretch, but do get a little Rockies action over the weekend.
Feel good about it. Yeah.
Feel decent about that. So we shall see what happens with Houston. I'm not, like I said, I'm not pressing that panic button yet, but I'm a little nervous. And so I might just be on permanent Ryan Weathers fandom for the rest of the season. That'll just be the extent of my MLB watching if this continues.
You know, you mentioned the pitching with the Astros, and I neglected to mention starting opposite Ryan Weathers for the Braves tonight. Bryce Elder is coming up from Gwinnett and making his first major league start of the season. 2023 National League All-Star Bryce Elder, who broke camp with the Stripers 1P of Gwinnett in AAA. So, you know, already there are guys coming up and back with the Strider injury and different things like that. So the Braves starting pitching depth is going to be tested this year. And so we'll see what Bryce has for him tonight against Ryan Weathers. Injuries, big thing across Major League Baseball. The Brewers apparently have put Christian Yelich on the injured list, or I guess this happened late last week. He's got back issues. And this is, you know, a little bit of a thing here because the Nashville Sounds are the AAA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. So apparently the Brewers called Owen Miller up from Nashville to take Yelly's spot. You know, we talked to Rick Sweet a few weeks ago down at First Horizon Park, and he mentioned that, you know, there's some flexibility in the outfield, and with a couple of utility guys that you're going to see them kind of flex some of that. You know, and it's being tested, I guess, with Yelich being out. Miller last year hit .261 with 5 home runs in 90 games for Milwaukee, playing all over the field, first, second, third, left, and right. When he left the Sounds last week, he was hitting .353 with a .414 on base percentage. So hopefully he goes up there and stays hot and helps them. So, some things to keep an eye on at the major league level. Anything else jump out at you? in MLB? Because again, I was gone.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling up the Astros injured list, and it's not pretty.
One?
Yeah, it's lengthy and it ain't pretty. So I'm just gonna keep on moving right along, as it does not look good at the moment.
Well, there's good news coming out of Atlanta. You know, they've had, in addition to Strider, obviously, Sean Murphy had the the oblique injury that still got him down. But it's getting more ABs for Darno, and he's taking advantage of them. Also, Ozzie Albies went out last week with a fractured toe, but still took 2 out of 3 from the defending World Series champions. They are atop, again, the CBS Sports Power Rankings, ahead of the Orioles, Yankees, and Phillies at number 4, who are up 9 spots after a 6-game win streak against the aforementioned Rockies and White Sox.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to, and Houston especially, and I got to check on that. They're only scheduled to have 2 games versus Colorado, so it'd be nice to get a third. Obviously, if things go according to plan, which rarely happens in Major League Baseball. But
sure.
Yeah, it's going to be. Houston will probably find out where they really sit here in the next couple of weeks, because the schedule does get a touch favorable for them. And I kind of ran through all the standings, by the way. The wild still thing to look at is the fact the entire AL East is above 500, including the Orioles, who are one of the hottest teams in the major leagues, sitting there at 14-7. They're basically dead even with the Yankees. So the entire AL East is above 500, and the only team above 500 in the AL West is Texas.
At 12 and
11 after last night's win. So kind of crazy to look at those standings as a division. Meanwhile, real quick, we mentioned the NL West a lot in our preseason preview a couple weeks ago. Everybody is right there in the mix as Los Angeles.
Except Colorado.
Everybody with the exception of the Rockies, who are 7 games back. But the Giants, the D-backs, and Padres all within 2.5 games of the Dodgers, who are only 13-11 at the moment.
Yeah. The Braves open this 3-game series against Miami tonight at home. They follow up with 3 games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against Cleveland to close it out. So they are in the midst of a 9-game, 10-day homestand. And as you said, you know, they'll find out a little bit about themselves as well, because the Guardians are playing some pretty good ball, 16-6 coming into today. So let's take a break. Let's come back and we'll see if we can't get a hold of NUBYJAS WILBORN. Talk a little Titans here in the Lee Company studio on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stay tuned.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see. whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely here in the Lee Company studios in Columbia. And we are now joined by friend of the show, NUBYJAS Wilborn of AllTitans.com. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, gentlemen, how's it going, man?
Hey, how are you? How are you holding up? Still T-4 to the draft.
Hey, man, we here, baby. That's the best way I could put it, man. This is a subterfuge season. Is at its finest. I guess in how in college sports you have what's called talking season.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we call it a subterfuge season, man. It's a whole lot of things, and you just try your best to realize you're gonna be drinking through a water hose, man.
Yep, and whole lot of smoke, very little fire, huh?
Hey, man, that's the game these days, man. I mean, and I tell you all the time. At the end of the day, mock drafts are mocks. Look at what the word mock means, okay? It's a mock. It's not real. We're not in those rooms. Some of us may have people who are in those rooms who we talk to, but also they're not showing us screenshots of their boards. They're telling us what they want us to believe, okay?
So with that said, do we have any clearer picture of what the Titans are likely to do at 7?
I mean,
assuming they do anything at 7.
I mean, I think I assume they're going to draft someone or trade the pick. I assume that's going to happen. I mean, it's kind of like they say in football, right? Eventually, they blow that whistle, boop, boop, and that ball gets kicked off, right?
Yep.
The same thing. At some point, there actually has to be a draft, right? And players will get picked. So I can honestly say that with the 7th pick, the Titans will either pick a player or they will trade that pick for some more picks. They will do one of those things. I can guarantee you that. Or unless they forget to turn the pick in, which has happened.
Ooh, which has happened. Not to the Titans, I don't think, but it has happened.
Thing happened to them. But yeah, so so either they'll forget to turn in the pick and maybe miss the pick, or they'll trade the pick, or they'll pick someone.
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario. They just continually just keep trading their picks and just don't even draft anybody. You could just have 40 picks in next year's selection. How about that?
Why not? Just pick everybody next year, or just trade them again and trade more players. I don't know. But seriously, I think the consensus is if you go to, there's this like NFL mock draft simulator, one of those where they have like all the mock drafts or whatever, which again, I mean, you start to look at some of these outlets and you kind of start to ask some questions about who gives this person the authority to be a mock draft selector. I mean, obviously, look, we know Mel Kiper. I think Matt Miller has become one of those guys who we look at too. And, You know, there are certain places that do it better than others, but some of these places I'm like, okay, I didn't know y'all even wrote anything, but okay, you have a mock draft. But 60% of mock drafts have the Titans selecting Joe Alt. I think that's consistently been the thing. For those who don't know, that's the Notre Dame left tackle. All right, most of them have him picking him. If not him, then they look at maybe Malik Neighbors, the receiver from LSU, Romo Doones, the receiver from Washington, and assume that Marvin Harrison will be off the board by 7. But you never know, because again, we're basing this on what we think Rand Carthon thinks about the Titans. Okay? I say that again. What we think Rand Carthon thinks about what the Titans need.
There you go. If not Joe Alt, who?
Well, I'm also saying go back to maybe Malik Neighbors, the receiver. Maybe you trade down. Maybe you look at the Olu Fashanu kid, the lineman who, oddly enough, played with Will Levis as a freshman at Penn State. Maybe you look there. Maybe you get that big old kid, Amarius Mims from Georgia. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of him. I was actually in that picture, and that man's a foot taller than me. Like, I thought it was a situation where it was at the combine, so it was like on Saturday, right? And I was like, you know, if you guys ever been to the combine before, it's 5 days, okay? It's long session. They let the offensive linemen go last for the media stuff. So I assumed that they were turning the lights down in the building. No. That big dude was just literally casting a shower, a cloud over the rest of us, man.
Wow.
It's like, and he was wearing all black too. I was like, Jesus Christ. But you see his face like, oh, it's a child. But anyway, my point is, you know, maybe him, maybe they get one of the other receivers like the Brian kid out of LSU or the Adonai Mitchell kid from Texas who also played at Georgia. Maybe you get him in one of the later
Who also played at Cane Ridge High School.
There you go.
Yep.
Maybe you bring him home. You know, maybe you get him, you know, I guess apparently have to keep his blood sugar up, according to some of the recent reports that have been out there. But I figured the Titans have a pretty good dietitian plan. They can keep him okay.
You would think. NUBYJAS WILBORN joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. NUBYJAS, there was some talk a few weeks ago, a certain tight end from a certain two-time defending national championship team apparently had expressed a desire to play his pro ball in Nashville. Is he a possibility at 7 at this point?
There are experts who think so. And look, I'm telling you, man, I know that's hard to take a tight end, but I would say, have you seen that boy play? That is a bad man from Napa Valley, dude. That is a bad young man with bad intentions. Really nice guy. Like I said, I mean, you know, but hey, it's no secret. You know, the boy definitely, like many young men, I would imagine, who may come from out west or the Midwest or up north, they get down and realize what the South is all about. They don't want to go nowhere. I can't blame them. I mean, it's a different life down here, man. I'm just saying. You know, look at Calvin Ridley. One of the reasons why he ended up with the Titans was because his wife was like, no, we're gonna stay down south if we can. So I mean, that's not a shock that he didn't want to play, you know, with the Titans. You know, I wouldn't be surprised he want to play for the Falcons too. I think the Falcons are a little bit loaded at tight end. I mean, my man Tig is solid, but hey, if you could get a guy like Bowers, maybe you trade back a little bit there and then still get him a little later in the first round. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go Bowers, depending on what happens. Because keep in mind, ain't no guarantee that Alt's going to be on the board at 7. Okay? The Chargers need a tackle too. The Giants need a tackle as well. Who's to say that they don't go take a tackle and take Alt, who we presume is the best in the draft? And they say the draft is loaded at tackle, but they say a lot of things.
They.
Those old days and them. I guess we were doing pronouns before we even knew about it, right?
Exactly.
The OG pronouns. Hey, NUBYJAS, let's shift out of Titans just real quick though. But in your mind at least, or latest that you've heard, is it still looking like quarterbacks obviously we assume one, all but assured there, still QB at 2 and 3, whether it's the Commanders and Patriots or some sort of trade? Is that kind of the run of show at this point?
Yeah, that's what most people are saying. That's what most of the scuttlebutt is saying, that it's going to be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, depending on which one they like. The Commanders did this wild thing. I guess they brought all 4 of the quarterbacks in up there in D.C., which apparently upset some people. But I guess we'll see how that works out for them. But maybe you see Daniels. Maybe you see a team try to jump up and convince themselves to get J.J. McCarthy. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy fan. I'm not sold on him. But you know what? Hey, man, look, there's a reason why I write about sports. And they get paid to do it. So maybe they know more than me, but I just don't see it with McCarthy. But maybe one of them teams try to jump in there to get McCarthy. So you could see anywhere between, I'd say, at least 3, if not 4, maybe even 5 quarterbacks go in those early picks, which could also put the Titans in position to get a really good deal because they have nothing else. They believe they're solid with Will Levis. Now we'll see how that really works out.
And I guess that leads to an interesting scenario, NUBYJAS. In your mind, what happens if that big run on quarterbacks happens and the Titans have the 2 top receivers and Alt available to them at 7? In your estimation, where do they go? Do you have an inkling one way or the other?
Ooh, that's an interesting one, man, because it depends on what you believe from what they've said. Also depends on what you believe from what they've done. Brian Callahan, great story about Teron Davenport at ESPN, too. This morning wrote about how Callahan said on another station how when he had a choice between picking Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase, the Bengals took Jamar Chase because he's like, hey, I want the guys who can score touchdowns. Okay, maybe he goes that way again. But also you got to remember who's his daddy. Okay, literally who's his daddy. All right, and he still comes from a traditional football background where you still got to have a good offensive line. So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't know, and trust me, that conversation is being had all through the facility over there on Great Circle Drive. It is definitely a conversation that's being had, and it's a very intense one because I mean, there's a possibility. Now, I would assume Marvin Harrison Jr. would be gone. I would assume that, okay, by 7 regardless. I would assume that. But if it's Neighbors or Dunes and Alt left, woo. Don't be surprised if the Titans take every last second to go over that decision. Because, I mean, that's a big one. That's a big one.
I mean, and that's a crazy situation, right? Because on one hand, philosophically, you could see the case to take a wide receiver. And on the other hand, we saw what we saw last year along the offensive line. And you're saying, oh, man, we got to go out and get a tackle at that point.
Well, and it's tough. It really depends on how deep you think the draft is at tackle. Like, so now you have to wait to that 38 pick, right? Okay. To try to pick a tackle. Do you wait that long? Get one of those, maybe the Guyton kid from Oklahoma, some of those other guys, if you really believe that the draft is as deep as tackle as you think it is? Or do you go ahead and get off? Or do you say, hey, maybe we can find us a tackle in free agency and get Bill Callahan to coach him up? Because part of that belief is, and one of the things that they have said on and off record is they believe Bill Callahan coach you up on the offensive line. Now, apparently they didn't believe that about Andre Dillard, but, that's a whole different conversation.
There's still got to be something there to start with.
Allegedly, right?
Coach up, right. NUBYJAS WILBORN joining us here on Main Street Sports today. That scenario with both the receivers and Alt still being there at 7, would that be conducive to trading back as well then?
I mean, it depends on what you get. And that's the whole thing. I think the Titans are in such a – and I'm not just saying it because I covered them. If I didn't cover them, they would be one of the more intriguing teams in this draft because they could have a lot of say-so as to what happened. One thing about Rand Carthon, I don't know if you guys have interacted with him much. He is very much a connector, dude. And I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for – I believe this. There ain't nobody Rand Carthon can't get in contact with. And there's nobody that Rand Carthon don't have at least a decent relationship with, maybe except for one local reporter, but that's a whole other conversation. Outside,
as long as you're not that reporter, though, right?
Oh, it ain't me, so I'm good.
There you go.
But outside of that, but for the most part, Carthon knows how to talk to people, and so hey man, nothing would surprise me. It would not surprise me if they trade back and see what they can get a little later. It would not surprise me to take Alt. It would not surprise me to take Neighbors or a Doomsday. It would neither one of those things would surprise me. I would say out of order, I would say most likely taking Alt. I think that probably be the safest thing they could do, the wisest thing they could do based upon what they need. All right. I would say next depends on which one of those receivers. Like I doubt if Marvin Harrison Jr. drops that far, but if he does, you take him. You take that man, and be nice to his dad.
Please, yes.
Yeah.
Careful. Speaking that name.
You be nice to his dad. Hey.
Oh, I will. Hey. I don't even really say the man's name. You know
what I'm talking about. Extra careful.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, NUBYJAS, since you mentioned that, any chance that there's a talk of trading up? It seemed like I hadn't heard anything, but is that even a remote possibility?
I haven't heard a lot of it, but again, I'm not taking anything off the table with the Titans this year. I mean, I think this is one of the more interesting things about them because everything's a possibility. I mean, maybe they get to that point and they see something they really want, and they can get it, and you go get Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe not. I mean, who knows? Because here's the thing. As good as DeAndre Hopkins is, 34, 35? Really is 29, even though he says he feels like 25. I also felt like I was 25 when I was 29 until I got a realization that I wasn't. I think most of us do. You could really use a guy like Harrison or whatever, or if it's a Doomsday or if it's Neighbors. I can see them trading up. There's a lot of things I can see them do. I think that's going to be one of the more intriguing things. If you're a Titans fan, you should be very closely attuned to watching this draft because literally anything can happen.
NUBYJAS WILBORN, you can find him at NWilborn19 on a certain social media platform. I call it what you want to. You can also find his work at alltitans.com. NUBYJAS, get some rest, man, because I know this week is going to be stressful.
Hey, man, we out here, baby. There's no Aaron Booney, man. There's no Aaron Booney, man. You saw that with Hunter Whittlestat. Don't do me like that. But outside of that, we're going to make it.
Hang in there, man. We'll catch up with you.
Yes, sir. Y'all be good, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, it's the grab bag. And there's some interesting stuff that has come across my screen anyway here during the course of the show. So we'll delve into some of that here in the last segment when we come back to the Lee Company studio. Stay with us.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. This is Wade Neely, and it's time for the grab bag. And you noticed something that I put on the run of show here in the last few minutes.
It wasn't there when we started the show.
That wasn't there when we started the show. Numerous media outlets are reporting that. Well, let's drop back just a second. I think you and Chris probably talked on Friday about FedEx entering a NIL partnership with Memphis late last week. It appears that will be the defining act, perhaps, or certainly the last act of Laird Veach as athletics director at the University of Memphis, because apparently he is taking the same position at the University of Missouri. So,
hell of a way to go out.
there you go.
And
he shouldn't have to buy any barbecue in Memphis.
no, broker a big deal, and then right off into the sunset.
And when you speak of me, speak well.
Yeah, please, because I've been there since 2019, and coming in to take over Mizzou, a program that a lot of folks, or a department, a lot of folks, they're kind of on the come up. Obviously, we've seen football potentially in line for a big season this year after really kind of turning some heads last year. So this is a big time hire, and we see this a lot, right? You snag a up and coming AD, and you kind of keep the mojo rolling. And you got to be impressed with what Veach did at Memphis to kind of get him in this, at least get in the conversation, and what looks like is now close to being a done deal here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, again, what he did with the NIL deal with FedEx. You look at him hiring Ryan Silverfield, excuse me.
Yep.
I should know that. Got a friend whose son plays down there, but hired him after losing Mike Norvell to Florida State. So, and that's been a successful hire for them. Oversaw some renovations with the Liberty Bowl, now Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And he's going back to Missouri, apparently. He was there in two different roles, last in 2002. So he's got a history there, and I guess they've got a history with him. Most recently, prior to Memphis, he was at the University of Florida. So he's getting back into the Southeastern Conference. Got some familiarity with that conference. It's very interesting.
And what really jumps out to me, St. Louis Today has an article up on this. Like, again, it's pretty much a done deal, or at least it looks like it's imminent. Bob Blitz, which is a great name, by the way, the UM system curator who chaired the search committee, said number one on our list was the ability to raise money. I mean, we literally just talked about on the show Friday about this massive deal with FedEx and how Memphis is situated very nicely now for their NIL agreement. And obviously that agreement is mentioned here in this article. But number one on our list, the ability to raise money. Well, it seems like
I guess
your guy there.
I guess the question, though, is who is Missouri's Fred Smith?
Yeah, we joked, and I mean, it's true, obviously, but not every program has a Fortune 500 company just sitting in their backyard.
Literally,
so
yeah.
That does diminish the deal a little bit, but yeah, it seems like a chance to go home, a chance to take over a program that's kind of turning some things around. So this will be a interesting hire as the world of college athletics turns. And then obviously the question will be, where does Memphis go now?
That is obviously the question. And I don't have enough of a feel for that program or for the athletics director landscape.
To me, my immediate
hazard a guess.
Yeah, my immediate thought would be they probably have an internal candidate that is maybe chomping at the bit. Because I mean, how many times do we see? The top dog gets the lion's share of the credit, but there was somebody beneath Veach that was putting in a lot of legwork on that deal as well.
Yeah, will be interesting to keep an eye on for sure. Wade, you are significantly more of an NBA fan than I am. We mentioned Damian Lillard and his performance, and the playoffs are underway. I did not understand the entire play-in situation, and I wasn't really available to keep up with it anyway. But what are your thoughts here as we get hard and heavy into the opening round after we've gotten past the play-in portion of the postseason?
I had almost every game on at some point this weekend, but I didn't really get to dig deep in the weeds on a lot of them. I will say this, and ironically, this is how the world works, of course. The one game that was really by far the best of the entire first round was the last game last night where the Thunder win 94-92 over the Pelicans. The only game I didn't get to watch even a second of. And that kind of saved what was kind of a dud of a weekend, honestly. The Celtics blew out the Heat. The Clippers, I think, surprised a lot of folks, taking care of the Mavericks as easily as they did, despite the fact that Kawhi Leonard there's a lot of concerns about his availability. The Nuggets got a little bit of a challenge from the Lakers, but all of the games were kind of not very drama-filled. The one key takeaway, though, is I'm still excited about quite a few series. I'm very excited, and I think probably at the top of my, if you want to call it a power rankings, it's still going to be the Knicks and Sixers. I think that's going to be a really fun series. Embiid had one of the greatest highlight reel dunks you've ever seen, and then immediately got hurt on the same play. So it kind of is a yin and yang situation there. But if he is healthy and he's available, I still think that series could be really fun. They actually tip off at 6:30 tonight. I'll be real curious to see what happens in tonight's game between the Lakers and the Nuggets. That's the night game this evening, or the final game this evening. If they can, they being the Lakers, if they can make it competitive, that could be a fun series. And like I said, I was a little disappointed that the only game I didn't get to watch ended up being the best one, as the Pelicans gave the Thunder a really good game. I think we're kind of just getting warmed up. I feel like some of these series will develop a little bit before our very eyes, but through 7 of the 8 games this weekend, it was kind of a little lackluster, but I think we're still in the early days here.
I guess one of those lackluster games was that Saturday matchup between Cleveland and Orlando. The Cavaliers went in 97-83. I would imagine there's a little local interest there with former Brentwood Academy standout and former Vanderbilt guard Darius Garland playing for the Cavs. But, that one kind of feels like it's a little under the radar just because it's Cleveland and Orlando.
And that was kind of the joke heading into the postseason, was that that's going to be the NBA TV series of the postseason. the one that nobody really gets to watch, the one they kind of just stash away, kind of like the Saturday afternoon NFL playoff game on ESPN that the Titans or the AFC South has kind of been prone to play in over the years. You mentioned Garland, though. He had a great great game on Saturday, 14 points and 8 assists. That kind of caught me a little off guard because Orlando is a really, really good defensive team. And that was kind of a blowout, really. I mean, the score, yeah, they lost by 14, but the score really kind of was almost not as indicative as Cleveland jumped on them early. And that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop because I think a lot of folks, a lot of NBA insiders had said the Magic would be a team to maybe go on the road and win a couple games in that series and maybe even win the series. But yeah, Garland played well this weekend, and they got a big night from Evan Mobley, who had 16 and 11. Jarrett Allen is just a crazy rebounding machine. He finished with, I love when these stat lines pop up. He had 18 rebounds and 16 points. So, I mean, he was close to 20 and 20. That one's going to be fun. Tonight, like I said, the games that I'm just going to be probably glued to almost every game the Sixers and the Knicks are playing. And if Embiid is healthy, I think there's still a glimmer of hope for Philadelphia. But if he's not healthy, I think you can pretty much scratch that one.
At least there's a chance of Embiid being healthy.
He came back and played and, did reasonably well in the second half. But when that injury happened, you kind of almost thought about it was the Derrick Rose situation where he went down in Chicago, many years ago. So props to Embiid for coming back. But if he can play at his usual level, I think it could be a series again. That's a 6:30 tip-off tonight.
Embiid may play. Jimmy Butler won't play. And that severely hampers Miami's chances against the number 1 overall seed, Boston Celtics.
And coming into this series, it felt like, me personally, I just didn't think the Heat, I don't think they have the, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have the luck or the sizzle factor that they had last year. I know they're still a quality team, but I don't think they're going to – the only real chance for them to win the series in my mind was if Boston kind of came out and laid an egg, and they were the number 1 seed this year for a reason. I don't anticipate them dropping too many games in general in this series, but especially obviously if Butler's not coming back, and it doesn't look – we're just that playoff Jimmy, that run from last year. I don't, as great of a player as he still is, I think that was lightning in a bottle last year, and we're not going to get that level of play from him if obviously he's even playing anymore in this series. But
and it sounds like he's not.
Yeah, and if they shut him down for more than a couple games, obviously this will be a sweep, or at least a gentleman's sweep at that point.
A gentleman's sweep. I like that. What about out west?
Out west, T-Wolves really impressed me a little bit this weekend. The Suns got off to a fast start. Durant had a really good first quarter. I think he ended up with like 12 points, or not 10 or 12 points in the first quarter. Came out hot. He ends up with 31. But I was very impressed with Minnesota. And there was a lot of chatter on social media. Is this the passing of the torch moment, as it were? Because Ant goes off for 33. 9 rebounds and 6 assists. And there's a great photo. We can't play the video, especially with the audio that accompanies it. Ant just absolutely giving the screws to Durant coming back down the court with some choice words. And you can tell Ant's having fun out there. And the question is this kind of a passing of the torch? And it may not necessarily be a passing of the torch. It might be Anthony Edwards just grabbing the torch. Yeah,
just taking it.
He balled out on Saturday. And Phoenix, I thought, would give a pretty good series to Minnesota. Mainly, I wasn't sure that Minnesota was ready for the moment, but man, they delivered. They got a massive win, 120-95 on Saturday. So I'm not really changing too much of my outlook coming in, except for maybe that series. Minnesota maybe impressed me a little more than I was anticipating. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them continue taking care of business as that one resumes tomorrow. That's the 6:30 game tomorrow night.
We just got done talking a little NFL/Titans/draft with NUBYJAS Wilborn. Right before we went on the air, Wade, we briefly discussed a trade. Zach Wilson is no longer a New York Jet. And I'm sure New York Jet fans are pretty excited about that. But the Jets were able to get a 6th-round pick and a 7th-round pick for this weekend's draft from Denver in exchange for Zach Wilson.
I mean, as a Jets fan, I'm taking that. Obviously, I don't necessarily know what the plan is if Rodgers gets hurt again, but it seemed clear they were ready to move on from Wilson. And the fact you were able to get a little something for him, that's better than nothing. So I hate to see him go. I wish him the best. I was one of the last holdouts thinking he might somehow turn it around, but last year, signed that certificate there, so to speak. So kind of shocked that they got that much for him, to be honest.
Yeah. Reading from CBSSports.com, the Broncos have been in dire need of quarterback reinforcements, releasing veteran starter Russell Wilson ahead of free agency and approaching the draft with Jarrett Stidham atop the depth chart. Denver could still be in the market for an early round investment at the position in the 24 draft, owning the number 12 overall pick. The Jets, meanwhile, effectively signaled the end of Wilson's career when they signed journeyman Tyrod Taylor to serve as Aaron Rodgers' top backup earlier this offseason. So that's where they're going.
Fare thee well. And it's Wilson is crazy enough that, and obviously who knows what the Broncos are going to end up doing, but all the chatter looks like they're going to take a quarterback, whether they trade up or not. He's still crazy enough and got that dog in him enough, if you will, that he thinks he could compete to be a starter. So that will be an interesting camp going into this
with him, Stidham, and whoever they bring in.
Yep.
Yeah. CBS Sports gives the Broncos a C+ for this trade. Gives the Jets a D+. And I'm kind of like you. They knew Zach Wilson was done there, and the fact that they were able to get two draft picks for him, I think that warrants more than a D.
That's what I'm thinking.
So they weren't going back to Wilson again, and everyone anticipated his eventual exit. So getting literally anything in return is a win. But still, on these deals, the dealing team can hardly be credited. This makes 2 straight quarterbacks the Jets had drafted in the top 3 and then dumped 3 years later, going back to Sam Darnold. Is that a case of 2 sour signal callers or a sour organization? Probably a little of both, but either way, New York just needs Aaron Rodgers to pan out so they can forget about all of it.
Wilson becomes the 4th quarterback chosen in round 1 of 21 that is washed out with the team that drafted him. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones have all now changed addresses, as it were. So,
did Justin Fields wash out though?
With the team that drafted him, obviously, is what this article is.
But I mean,
in the sense that he's no longer there.
Yeah.
This is from USA Today. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. In the back half of last season, when the Bears were maybe supposedly trying to tank even more, he was out there winning games for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a question. I mean, they were in the playoff hunt going in the final 2 weeks of the regular season.
Right. Transfer portal news. Larry Nerd to St. Louis.
He gone.
Did y'all get to talk about that? Did I miss that? I don't remember when.
Just
that
talked
took
briefly
place.
in the sense that kind of like Joe said the week before that it would have been a big shock if he ended up anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not formalized. Fare thee well, Larry Nerd.
Should be interesting seeing him in the A10 next year. There's a story up on the website at mainstreetmurray.com. Williamson County girls flag football closed its regular season yesterday. The Page Patriots went 8-0 and will be the number 1 seed in the tournament that will take place at 2 sites. On Sunday, they will play at Centennial and at Franklin. And it's a little bit of a dubious honor for the Patriots being the number 1 seed in that tournament, since neither of the number 1 seeds the previous 2 years have won. So,
Buyer beware.
exactly. So, I hear the music. We survived. Yeah. Come back with us tomorrow here on the Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by POA of Columbia. We should have Chip Walters, and who else? I don't know. We'll see. Check us out, 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll see y'all.